to the second day of the Crafts Code Interregional project. I'm Carlotta Viviani from the Municipality of Florence, and I really welcome you and thank you for the participation. We would like to remain in line with the timing of the agenda. So even if some members and participants are still coming in the webinar, I would like to start because we have a really rich agenda, and we desire also to make a quick recap of the very fruitful first day of yesterday. So thank you very much for the participation. We are really proud of our Crafts Code project, and we are happy to share with you the ongoing project. So I would like to leave the floor to Laura. They're from Fundesarte in Spain, because Fundesarte is the hosting partner that hosts us, all of us, in virtual Spain for this meeting. So Laura, the floor is yours, and then we go on with the agenda. Thank you very much for the participation, and enjoy this really interesting program. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Carlotta. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in the second day and session of the Interregional Thematic Seminar, aimed this time at new markets and audiences. I'm Laura, as Carlotta said. I'm working for Fundesarte in Spain, and together with my colleague Silvia, we are the hosts of this seminar. We would have liked to welcome you in Spain, but due to the current conditions, we couldn't. So we will start today with a brief summary by Hilde on the good practices that were presented yesterday. And today we want to focus on the impact of COVID-19 in the craft sector. So despite all the negative aspects that are affecting our lives today, there is some bright light at the end of the tunnel. Many people had a positive attitude during this pandemic and managed to bring creative solutions to the current challenges, as we saw yesterday. Therefore, today we will have a very interesting presentation on the near future post-COVID-19 trend socioeconomic scenario in Europe, focused on consumer goods. Unfortunately, we do not have data about the craft sector, but we can extrapolate some results of the study on consumer goods that apply to crafts, as most of the crafts are consumer goods. As I said, we want to keep positive and show you also some projects that are being developed in Spain that we hope might improve the appreciation of crafts and approach locals as well as tourists, hopefully soon, into our crafts world. I hope you enjoyed today's presentations, and do not forget to comment or ask on the chat. We will have a Q&A session at the end. So I pass now the floor on to Hilde, who is going to do, as I said, this brief summary on what we had yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laura. I will try and share my screen with all of you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Hilde Hoefnagels. I work for Artisanal in Antwerp, and we are the advisory partner in this project. Okay, I hope you are seeing something already. So, can anybody give me?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so yesterday was an incredibly interesting day. I know that I'm not alone about thinking so, because as you will remember, at the end of the day, we had this poll in which we asked you a few questions. Thank you very much for filling in that poll, because for us it's really majorly interesting. And there we could also see how interesting it was for you, apparently. So I will briefly go through all the presentations of yesterday and also give a brief overview of what the results of the poll were. So yesterday, we first listened to Ireland, to the Building Craft and Design Enterprise Program, and there was Emmett from the Copper Creation, you will remember, he spoke about this program and he said it propels your business to the next level. He also said something positive about this Corona thing, its COVID period, let's say. He said it has driven people to shop locally. People start to buy online local products. And the importance of social media came up as something very striking. So this already goes back to the digitalization and the program that the BCDE delivers. This was Ireland. From Hungary, we had the Festival of Folk Art that was presented. Gabriela told us the importance of networks because she says this festival is knowledge transfer and it is also the education of the young ones. You will remember that young ones are not so very eager to step into this crafts world, but this Festival of Folk Arts knows how to boost their enthusiasm. Finland presented two good practices. The first one was the Sustainability Week, in which Nora explained us how this week unites small and large players in the crafts world, and it offers the possibility to both categories to market their products. We will also remember that this was based on a Swedish example, a Swedish pattern. The second good practice from Finland were the himmeli, this decorative construction, let's say, from the old Finnish tradition. It was presented by Eija, who is the number one in the world to make these himmeli. And she spoke to us very passionately about her 6 Ps, which are the basis of her business. Let's say passion, purpose, to personalize your work, the product, the public, and the price. Then we had a presentation by Paulo from Joya, Barcelona. He explained to us this very interesting transition from a fair to an exhibition, from something that is going on in real life to something digital. And what a success it was, maybe unexpectedly, but it was a huge success. You will remember that in this exhibition, Goya gives the opportunity to galleries and musea to buy jewelry, first chance, let's say, to buy jewelry, to have the preview. He also stressed a lot the fact that they always maintain very good communication and how important that is. Italy brought a good practice, a combination of 2 good practices about high-end crafts products, Tuscan collections and Firenze Creativa Shop. Elisa stressed out that this is not just a showcase, this is also a platform, digital platform, but it's not just a showcase. She says it's really a marketplace. It's where business is being done between buyers and sellers. What is also very interesting is that this good practice could easily be translated into any other context of any other partner. Bulgaria too presented 2 good practices. The first one was a synergy between local authorities and craftspeople. We got an explanation about a region that is a traditional place for craftspeople, but now they have this combination of all these different factors, local authorities, a cultural institution, craftspeople, they all work together in order to boost craftsmanship. And a second example was the gift box. You will remember a gift box with, on the one hand, rakia, this liquor, and on the other hand, the pottery. Both traditional products combined in this one gift set. There was kind of a tender sent out, and there was a family business who won this tender. And now they get, of course, huge support because thanks to this initiative, they can sell larger numbers. So that is what we had yesterday. Now, afterwards, we asked you to vote on a few questions. We had a few questions to check whether it was interesting for you as a public to follow these good practices. And we had, strangely enough, we had respondents from 65 until 19. So different questions, a different number of people answered. This is not chronologically, not that people got tired by the end and didn't respond anymore. So maybe also for privacy reasons that some people didn't answer to some questions. Now, the ones that were considered most interesting were Italy, Spain, and Finland, I think because of the easy way to transfer them to other contexts. When we asked about who feels that there is still a gap between skills, experience, and knowledge about this theme that we have brought, is it in that way interesting? Almost half of the respondents said yes. The possible transfer of good practices, as you can see, yes, with adjustments, which is obviously logical because a good practice in one zone needs a little bit of adjustment if you want to transfer it to another. But the yes with adjustments and the plain yeses make out 23 of 26 respondents. So here we have an enormous possibility to work together and to boost the collaboration between the partners. The one-on-one conversation about the topic, only half of the respondents thought that was very interesting. Now, another question was, did you see these good practices as complementary to your own situation? There were the three, again, Ireland, Spain, Italy, the ones that are most easily transferable were given as the most complementary to an own situation. For the advisory partner, there were a lot of tasks. There were 4 tasks. And as you can see, most respondents want to see me work hard. So that's nice. I can mean something for this project. More research on other similar experiences out of our partnership, to organize separate meetings to deepen these presented good practices, suggest cross-cutting items for further events, and then the SWOT analysis for the good practices. So this is something that's the first task for the next year for the advisory partner. Now, we are also asked in general, have you visited the policy learning platform and the good practice database of Interreg? I thought it was charming that quite a lot of people said, we will do so after the meeting. So we have warmed them up to the idea, I think, which is possible, very positive. And then are these good practices useful for your activities? We have, out of 20 respondents, 14 that say plainly yes, and 6 for whom it's partially interesting, but all of them in a positive sense. Did the good practices really respond to the theme of this seminar? As you can see from the figures, everybody agrees that your good practices, the ones that you choose and that you presented, correspond very well to the theme of the seminar. And then we asked also, who are you? Most of them obviously were the partners. Then we had also a lot of craftspeople, interested people, and then people from other backgrounds. So yesterday was an incredibly interesting day from all kinds, let's say from all different points of view. And this, I think, will only boost the partnership, the consortium, to work harder, to continue on this, let's say, very high level of production of good practices. Thank you very much, all of the partners and all of the rest of the public. I'm looking forward to today, when we are going to see some solutions, or at least some answers to this COVID pandemic. Thank you all.
Hi, everyone. Now we will have a presentation by Maribel Martinez of Abay Analistas, who is going to talk about the scenario for consumer goods in Europe after the pandemic, or now and after the pandemic. She's going to do her presentation in Spanish. So if you don't understand Spanish and you want to listen it to English, you should select the English version on the bottom of your screen. Okay, Marimel, whenever you want, please.
Good morning, everybody. Voy a seguir mi presentación en castellano, en español.
So good morning. I'm going to continue in Spanish because I feel more comfortable speaking in my third tongue. So I hope that you can understand in English as well. So first of all, thank you so much to the organizers of this seminar for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here to share with all of you a part of our work. So as you're going to see, we deal with a lot of the things that we talked about yesterday. And so what we're going to share with you is our instruments that allow us to see all of these elements from a new perspective. So I'm going to share the presentation now on the screen. So as I was saying, we're in the middle of a time of very important changes, which is a result of the sanitary health crisis which we're living. So we work a lot with perspective landscapes. This means where are we going, what changes are going to take place, and how are these changes going to affect us? So not just as citizens, but also as economic agents, and it also affects the companies, the different sectors. So in order to carry out this analysis, what we do is analyze many of the elements that, as I said, have already been present in the seminar yesterday. And we organize them around certain tools that will allow us to understand these changes, and especially the changes that we can expect in the near future. So we analyze the scenario in 3 blocks. So the challenges, the economic and the social challenges, which we can expect. First of all, regarding the original idea that we had, the pandemic, it will likely have long-lasting and structural effects. At the beginning, we thought it was going to be something very brief, that we will recover very fast. But in reality, we are seeing that there are a lot of changes that have taken place, and that we know that it's going to be very long-lasting and very structural changes that are going to take place. But this crisis is acting in a society that already had a different dynamic. So on a European level, before the pandemic, Europe already had was facing a lot of challenges, amongst which environmental, such as climate change, the biodiversity laws, also the water and air pollution, the ocean degradation. So these were certain challenges that were already affecting us. And then on the other hand, we are also facing a crisis regarding the trade liberalization model, which such as lower growth rates, more precarious employment, and especially a significant increase, which has become exacerbated of the last crisis, which is the social inequality. So besides these important challenges, what we are facing now is the challenge of how we're going to recover our economies and how we're going to have to restructure, economically speaking, because of the COVID pandemic. So these were our main challenges. But in a economic and social scenario, there's also going to be different factors for change, which we need to take into account. So these factors for change are not new. They have not been presented by COVID, but COVID has accelerated these factors. The first one of which is the most important one, is the technological change, which is something that was already taking place and which was already having a tremendous impact on the industry with robotization. So this change has become, has sped up incredibly fast as a result of the pandemic. So on the other hand, what we've also seen is a more innovation as a result of the pandemic. There's new likes, new passions, and this has led to new products being developed. Then we have energy transition, which is a huge process, which has already been an issue for several decades in Europe. And there are also very important policies which are going to be the key in the recuperation plans. On the other hand, the globalization process was already starting to see some signs of recovery. But with the pandemic, we expect that it's going to decrease a little bit. It's going to lose a little bit of its acceleration. And then another factor of change, which is also very important, which was already taking place, but without a doubt, the pandemic has created a lot more changes in social values and habits, which entail affects the consumer goods. And lastly, which is the uncertainty about the evolution of the pandemic. I'm talking about the uncertainties in general because it doesn't just about this pandemic, but we are seeing more and more proof between the sanitary crisis and social crisis. So the loss of biodiversity, the deterioration is leading to diseases. And so now something that we didn't even consider a few years ago is now being included in the risk evaluation. So we had these risks and we had these factors for change, which are creating all these changes in our economies and our lives and our societies. So now what can we expect in the medium term? So we worry a lot about the economic effects on a cross-sectional level, because even the smallest craftsman is immersed in this landscape, in this scenario. This is where they play. This is their game, and it's going to affect a lot of us who deal with craftsmanship. So economically speaking, the most important economic effects in the medium term, of course, are going to be the fall in economic growth, the rise in unemployment, increase, a fall in the household income. In orange, we have highlighted some of the factors that we believe that are going to have the biggest impact on the craftsmanship sector. I'm not going to go into other more specifically economic factors, which are not as important, not as relevant, so we can just save a little bit more time so later we can get into more detail into it if we want. But besides these huge impacts, one very specific characteristic of this pandemic and of also an associated economic crisis is that it has a very asymmetric sectoral impact. So we talk about winning sectors, so to say, who are expected to have high growth rates and to see a lot of expansion and growth, not just because of the pandemic, but also because the impacts that they will receive in the recuperation plans because of these factors. So among them, obviously, we see the health sector, which is a strategic sector. So then we also have all the activities related to digitalization, which has also been very important. Activities related to energy transition, also water, waste, education, digital education, and also research and development. But together with these sectors, we've also seen some negative impact in certain sectors. One of them is related to crafts or craftsmanship. But these are the sectors that have suffered the most are the collective consumption sectors, such as culture, entertainment, and also tourism. As long as this pandemic is not over, it is difficult for these negative impacts to disappear in these sectors. We also have a lot of doubts about the posterior recuperation of these sectors, especially of tourism. So just to start focusing a little bit on craftsmanship, in this global scenario, what can we expect? What can we expect is the impact is going to be in our sector? there's not that much documentation, literature, there's not that many studies that we have found which specifically deal with craftsmanship. So that is why I'm now going to talk about the impact of on consumer goods. It's not exactly the same, but we could say that the craftsmanship sector would fit into the sector to a certain degree. So in order to prepare this scenario, what we did, we distinguished between the expected impacts on the demand of this sector. So that's to say that's going to affect the consumer demand in the medium term. So everything of this is in the medium term, let's say around 5 years. And then when we see the expected impact of this crisis, what we can expect in this medium term, the most important, without a doubt, is the changes that the pandemic has created in consumer habits. Not all of them are new, as you will see. In fact, a lot of them were already taking place in the sector, but the pandemic has eliminated cultural obstacles. And these obstacles are very difficult and very expensive to change in time. For example, people that were not accustomed to shopping online or to using a certain digital media in the health sector. So the pandemic, in 3 months, the pandemic has made the progress that we would expect without a pandemic in 5 years. So we've seen a huge acceleration in this growth. So we've seen that the amount of video queries have increased incredibly fast in developed countries, which could be the equivalent of the normal growth we would see in 5 years of non-pandemic. So this is very significant. So we see these changes in consumer habits are the changes are what affect us at the end of the day. So this change in habits, what does this translate into? Well, without a doubt, it's the increase in the digital consumption and also the consumption related to social networks. Another very important element which is a greater balance between price and value. And then another element is the greater consumption of products related to health and personal care for the households. And then another important element is a greater consumption of local products. What we're seeing in some countries is that this is being compatible with this increase in the digital commerce. So this shows a certain empathy and helps the local producers. But this is, of course, going to be very related with the sustainability factor, and I'll talk about this later. And lastly, since we have spent a lot of time at home and the pandemic is still not over, we're still seeing a lot of mobility restrictions. We've spent a lot of time together at home, and this is why any consumption related to households is going to be blooming. It's going to be flourishing. So these are also products that are more time related that will help us enjoy our time together. So this has been also one of the relatively positive aspects. So these are some of the positive aspects related to the change in habits. So regarding the importance of one of these changes, we have the responsible consumption. So there is not a complete unanimity. There's not a complete agreement with all the analysts and all the researchers. But we do see a lot more selective, a lot more responsible consumption, which avoids overproduction and which focuses more on the people. So this is for sustainability reasons. But then we also see that there is going to be an important price war, which is also related to the fall in price of the rent of houses, which will in turn also lead to more massive consumption in general. So in our opinion, what's going to be more important is the responsible consumption, and that's because of sustainability. So there is a very important, there's a lot of emphasis on focusing on the quality and on the durability of products. So as I was saying before, there's certain surveys published by the OCDE which show that the sensitivity and the awareness of these citizens has significantly increased as a result of the pandemic. And we expect that this will continue, this trend will continue as we see the evidence between health crisis and ecological and the loss of biodiversity crisis continue to increase. So this necessity of the durability and the quality of the products brings us to reconsider, rethink what role certain processes that we already have should. But it is possible for some of them to become more important, depending on co-creation, customization, and a clothing rental. And a third element that we can expect in demand, which is a significant and important change in the change of consumer goods, which is the need to improve the active listening to the customers. So the consumer is, the customer is subject to a lot of changes, and then that's why we have to improve this active listening. And we think that this will bring us to lead us to two scenarios. So on the one hand, we're going to see new marketing strategies being created, where we're going to focus more on active listening to the customer. And then on the other hand, we also expect that product innovation will be faster and faster every time, which is exactly to adjust to all these new consumer preferences. So that's that about the changes. So what can we expect in the changes for companies? So here there are 5 elements that are important that we've selected. The first of which is that the fashion and the luxury sector is the most affected COVID-19 sector, together with traveling and tourism. So here we really need to focus on the recuperation, which should be structural. Second of all, what the pandemic has shown has manifested certain vulnerabilities that are related to globalization, which were invisible until now. This sector of consumer goods is actually characterized for having extremely high levels of globalization. So the pandemic has created ruptures in the supply chains, it's imposed mobilities on traveling, and it has shown new vulnerabilities in this sector that we didn't see before. And as a consequence of this, we do expect that in the medium term, there will be a certain relocalization of certain companies, perhaps certain companies that are far away from their home. So perhaps it's not just about them going back to their countries of origin, but rather them starting to produce geographically closer to their origin. So this is something that we do expect to see in the medium term in the consumer goods sector. And then lastly, we wanted to highlight two changes that are very much related to the commercialization channels. The first of which is very important and also affects the craftsmanship, and that is that we are expecting a restructuring of the sales networks with absolute dominance of the digital aspect. Also taking into account that artificial intelligence would favor the delivery of products. So we expect this to become more and more important, as we are seeing that the cultural barriers towards digital consumption are being broken down rapidly. So this type of commerce will also change the role that physical stores have. And another change that we can expect in the medium term is the small stores closing. They're going to become less important. So as I said, there's going to be, we're going to start seeing bigger stores, more flagship stores, where the goal of the stores is not just selling, but rather having another type of interaction with the customer. So as I was saying, this is related to the entire consumer goods sector, not just about craftsmanship. So in this context, we have analyzed, or we have thought about where economies are headed, what we can expect in the medium term, and how the consumer goods sector will be affected. So now we have to think about the key points for the crafts in the post-COVID scenario. So just rapidly, just to talk a little bit about this, our team has chosen these 4 key points: digitalization, sustainability, services, and price. Well, these are not new, of course, but they do require us to rethink all of these 4 points in the new pandemic, with all the changes that we're seeing in the markets. So the first one, digitalization. We've already talked about the importance that it's having on a commercial level. So we need to embrace this change. But we believe that digitalization is going to go beyond the commercial channel, even in the sectors such as the craftsmanship, where the key element is the traditional craftsmanship. But we believe that digitalization will be more and more important in the production process, as long as the essence of what the traditional craftsmanship process entails, as long as that is not changed. So we'll talk about this later. Then, second of all, the second key point that we've highlighted for craftsmanship is sustainability. So this is a very important element of the craftsmanship process. But we do require a new communication strategy in order to make sure that this is more visible than it has been until now, and to open it up for and visible to other and different publics and different audiences, and just to make people see that relationship between sustainability and craftsmanship. So we need to focus on the consumer. So as we've said before, we're focusing more and more on the quality of the product, on giving more value and all the economical levels. So craftsmanship is in a very good position to embrace this change in consumer habits. But we need this to be more visible, and we need to, of course, promote and back up this element in all elements of craftsmanship. So this also has to be, sustainability also has to be communicated to the distributors. Is also very important. So we have certain projects going on right now of internalization, and the other day we actually had a meeting with a professional in craftsmanship, and they were being asked for these certificates of sustainability, which they didn't have before. So that is why we need to communicate our sustainability to these actors, which are key for the craftsmanship to go over to a larger part of the market. And then lastly, focusing on heading towards the market in general. So what this is going to allow by focusing on the entire market is to also influence on the decision-making process when shopping. So one of the elements that we believe is also very important are services. And this is because digitalization, what it is doing is breaking down all the barriers between products and services. So where do we draw the line between the two? Now, this is a phenomenon that is associated to digitalization. But what we are seeing that is happening is that there are a lot of activities that are giving a lot more value to the product through services. And just like sustainability, we think that craftsmanship is in a very privileged position to do this. And also in a very good position to explore new possibilities. So I know this is not a new topic, but I think the sector should really consider focusing on this with more detail, because there are a lot of services that can offer a lot of value to some products. Because in reality, when a consumer is shopping, are we selling him the product, or are we selling him the experience in the creation or the design of that product? So we could say that everything, the philosophy of production, the speed of creation, so that is ideal in order to include the services and to also give more value to the product, and at the same time to establish a better relationship with the consumer. Because this should accompany the entire life cycle of the product. So we should really focus on the consumer and the customer and have a better relationship with them. And then lastly, the fourth key point is the price. So we've already seen that in the medium term, there's going to be a lot of economic problems. There's going to be a fall in the incomes of a lot of households. We're going to see a lot of rise in unemployment, a lot of other issues in our economy. And the price of products is going to be a very important issue. So that is why we want to talk about this issue, because we know that this is something that the sector already knows, but there's going to be a lot of competition with other products. We're going to be pressured in that sense. So if we don't want craftsmanship products to be only for a certain niche of the population, for the richer part of the population, then we really have to focus on having more competitive prices and improving these prices. So I would like to wrap up with this. So this is a reflection that we've made with everything that we've been working on in the craftsmanship sector. And if you have any questions, I stand at your disposal at any time of the seminar. Thank you so much.
Effort you make to adapt this data to the craft sector. I think you gave us some clues and some positive aspects that will help and the craft sector. So to continue today with our seminar, we will have now a presentation by Manolo González, who works for Oficio y Arte, which is the Spanish organization for craftsmen. It's the biggest that we have in Spain. And they developed an app for people finding crafts ateliers and interesting points in all Spain. So I'm going to give the floor to Manolo. If you can share your screen. He's going to do also the presentation in Spanish, and just keep using the translation channel if you don't understand Spanish. Manolo, whenever you want.
Hola, buenos días.
Good
Empiezo
morning.
ya, ¿no?
I can
Vamos
begin.
allá.
Sí, adelante, por favor.
Gracias. Bueno, buenos días a todas y a
Thank
todos.
you. Well, good morning to everyone. So I'm going to be standing in for Laura Villos, who is the president of Oficio y Arte, who was actually supposed to hold this presentation today, but last night she asked me to stand in for her. So my apologies, because I've tried to kind of look at all the information of the presentation. So I'm going to be fitting in for her, and I'm going to be reading the presentation that she already prepared. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see. And also my apologies for not being able to speak to you directly in English. But let's begin. Can you see it okay? No. Okay, can everybody see it okay? So let's begin with the presentation of our organization. So here on the picture, you can see the current board members. So our organization is basically the only traditional craftsmanship in Spain. And our organization brings around 800 craft enterprises together, gathered in 20 associations or federations in the entire country. It was founded in 1992 with the aim to promote the craft sector and to represent its interests before the central government and other national and international bodies. So as I was saying, this was the last executive board that was constituted in March 2020, briefly after Spain started in the government in Spain announced the state of emergency in Spain. So this is our magazine. This is our first digital magazine, which was, we could say, the first effect of the COVID pandemic. So we used to have a paper version, and which we have been printing since 1992. So this was the main way of communication for the craftsmanship sector in Spain. So this is a tool that we have inside of our organization, which is perhaps the best known one. Because it reaches all the interesting areas related to craftsmanship in Spain. So the organization has seen an important increase in the shares on a national level. So we are still working on the digital version, and you can access it online. So this is the sign of one of the exhibitions that we're organizing. So what this tries to do is to try to, this is something that we tried to do as a result of the pandemic. So we thought it was necessary to create a virtual shop window to the craftsmen, and when we organized a series of virtual exhibitions like this one. And what we hope to do is to show the best that we're currently, what is going on in the sectors, in the craftsmanship sector, textiles, jewels, hat making, leather goods, and other personal fashion articles. So one of our most important activities or projects, which is a little more related to innovation and to the sector adapting to the changes in consumer habits, and of course everything related to new technologies, is this application. This application is available for smartphones, and it is called Open Atelier. The best way of seeing how it works is downloading it. You can download it for free. You can download it if you have an iPhone or an Android device. You can get the app for smartphones and for tablets as well. It works on both. So since it's free, if you want to practice, I recommend you download it. So if you don't like it, you can just delete it. But that way you can kind of get a feeling of how it works. So we created this application in 2012, where perhaps in 2012, when we created this app, people perhaps used to think that apps were something a little nerdy, a little geeky, something for bigger companies. But we actually thought it was very interesting that an application like this would allow you to geolocalize or localize the specific workshops or ateliers in the Spanish territory, which would perhaps be pretty difficult to access. So many times we would be driving down a road and we never noticed that right next to that road, there would be very interesting craftsmanship stores or workshops, which normally we would never even notice, or the consumer would just completely miss. So that is why we decided to create this tool, in order to make it easier for people to find these workshops in the entire Spanish territory. So we've already launched several versions, and we have updated it, because of course you have to update it for all the software and all the firmware. And this last version that is available, we launched in collaboration with Fundesarte. So what this has allowed, this last version has allowed us to boost the functionality of the application. And we have introduced more and more and more workshops and more points of interest in the entire country. So what we did was, lastly, was create an awareness campaign in all of Spain, so that just to make all the workshops and all the ateliers aware of the existence of this application, which is of course also free for them. And the truth is, it's been very well embraced by all the professionals. And now we have a large number of ateliers and workshops that are signed up with our application. I'll send you a video just to briefly explain how it works, but I think I'm going to finish my presentation here. This is the presentation that Lara had prepared to kind of explain what this application is and what organization does. So what the application offers is some very basic information. We have some contact data, activity description, etc., web, social media, image. So basically anything that we would want to know about a certain point of interest that perhaps we would be potentially interested in visiting. So this would provide us with all the information that we would need, all the updated information. the information of this app is updated online. So if we want to change any piece of information of a specific workshop or point of interest, we would change it online. It will automatically be changed in the app. So built in the application, we have the built-in navigator, or GPS navigator, which will now help us navigate to the point of interest or the workshop. And they will appear in order of proximity from the user. Another functionality is the augmented reality option. So what this can do is show you what workshops you have around you. What this does is by opening your camera, you can see the image around it, and the phone will recognize what direction you're looking at and will show you how far you are from the different locations and points of interest. So it's pretty interesting. It's not the most popular option of our application, but it's there in case anyone want to explore that option. So here we can see a map of the different autonomous communities in Spain. So these are the number of either artisanal workshops or points of interest in our application. We have 366 craft ateliers all over Spain, including the Canary Islands and the Balear Islands. And through these workshops, they offer the selling of products, demonstrations, tour guides, other workshops. So there's two sectors, one for craft ateliers and one for points of interest, such as museums, old manufacturers, etc. And there are 59 points of interest that have been included in that part as well. So, and we hope to be including more and more progressively in the following months. So we really want this app to be the map for all of the crafts ateliers in all of Spain. So these are some of the examples that you can find when if you use the application. So here we have the craft atelier La Torneria. It's in a little village close to Barcelona, the village called Torneria. It deals with wood turning, and it offers you information about the history, explanation, and demonstration of the wood turning craft. This atelier has been registered relatively briefly. It's not been on the app registered for too long, so we can't see all the information of the popularity information. But what is most important is that this app is a resource for outside visitors, foreign visitors from outside of Spain coming to Spain and wanting to explore the craftsmanship. So there is a Spanish and an English version of the app. So the most touristical cities, such as here in Salamanca, we have a very important craft atelier from Luis Mendez. Salamanca is a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site. So this is an atelier and shop and a gallery which specializes in filigree jewelry. And in there, they organize exhibitions of other makers and artists. So this is also very useful. They weren't able to quantify the results, but they think they use it a lot. But it's a very interesting initiative nonetheless. So here on the screen, you can see the Artisanal Center of Menorca, which is also on our app. No, excuse me, I think we skipped a slide. Here we have another atelier, which is on the application, which is in another city, which is also a World Heritage City. It's in the square of Las Flores in Córdoba. It's right next to the famous mosque. And it's an atelier that specializes in Cordoban, which is an ancient craft for working on leather, which is actually what gave the city its name. So they sell their products and they also offer demonstrations, and their business model is also strongly related to tourism. So right now the situation is a little difficult for them. So what this application allows is for anyone that's traveling to Cordoba will find all of the information of this atelier, of this workshop on their app, so they can visit the shop. And now we go over to the center, the Artisanal Center of Menorca, which fits into the point of interest of the application. So this is directly managed, or a direct part of the local government. They also organize seminars, workshops, and it's also a shop. This is a space of in the Puerto de la Cruz in Tenerife, in the Canary Islands. There's also a store. They also organize exhibitions. And this is just an example of all the different contexts and all the different things you can see on the application. So this is a link to the video that I mentioned before, which shows the functioning and how to use the application. I'm going to send it to you anyway. If you want, you can take a look at it. But I would rather recommend you download the app. It's just going to be a lot faster, and you're going to see. And you can see that it works great from any country. Because it has a very wide radius, so you can see the workshops from any country that you're in. So here you can see our contact information. And with that, I'm going to finish my presentation about our organization and this application. And now what I'm going to do is try to send you this video that we have prepared. Not this one that I mentioned before, which this one has been prepared by Silvia Delgado from the EOE. Perhaps with an iPad, you can see it with some better quality. I'm going to try to share it right now. If you just give me a minute. And let's see. We're having some technical difficulties. Okay, you can see it now. Great. So I'm just going to quickly show you the app. So you click on the application, you open it. This is the starting screen of the app. So here's the menu. So here you can see the first atelier, which is this deals with porcelain, which is really close to my house. You have a gallery option. You can see all the pictures. And then we click on the direction, and then it will trace a route. So we can get there from wherever our location is. So, and then there will be a link to bring us to Google Maps, and then it will guide us straight to the door of the workshop. So this is the general map. Here you can see you can see all the points of all the different atelier, the craft ateliers that have been included on the application in Spain. So if we zoom in, we can see more and more. If we click on one of them, then we can see all the information of that particular shop that could be interesting to us. So this one is in Madrid. This one is also very interesting. Sometimes we can also see the links to their social media, so that we can very quickly access all the information of the particular craft atelier. So we can always go back. So now it's gonna go over to the main map of Spain. And you can also see the points of interest. Now it's gonna go over to the points of interest, which is another section on the application. And here, this is something that they do close by here in Coruña, which is pot making. And then they can also see that they update their information. Here you can see their latest sign that they had. And then we can access their website. So here you can kind of see the distance and the organization of the different points of interest, and we can also filter, and we can also increase or decrease the radius if we want to perhaps see more information or less information. We can update this in settings. And this is here's all the information that we can see, and that is it. And this is the end of the video. So that is it. That was the presentation that Lara had prepared. If you have any questions or any issues that I could help you with, I'll be more than happy. So thank you so much, Lara.
Comes every year many tourists. We thought that it would be interesting to share with the people arriving to our country and ourselves the interesting points that you can visit when you are traveling around. And due to the pandemic, we knew that we won't have so many tourists, so we made a special campaign to attract Spanish people to move around and get to know what they have next to them. So it is very useful when you have in your mobile phone, when you check what you have like 20 kilometers around you. And that's one of the activities we did this summer, trying to attract more people to the craft sector and to get to know what we have nearby, because we weren't supposed to travel abroad, so we were traveling in Spain if we were traveling this summer, and this was a way to bring people to the crafts they have around them. So thank you very much, Manolo, for your presentation. Now we are going to have another one by David Places, who he's in charge of cultural projects at Artesanía Catalunya. It's an institution from Catalonia who works for the promotion of crafts in Catalonia and abroad. They are very active. Actually, they did some very interesting seminars the last days, like the Crafts Now, who was also broadcasted in English, and Crafts Tech, related to new technologies. So, David, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, David. Good morning. So the floor is yours. Please share us with us your new future project.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to the organization to invite Artesanía Catalunya presenting this project we have started recently. As I say, it's a project. We are just cooking it, but it still looks very interesting to be like a step in front of the pandemic times. So thank you for having us. We are talking about a series of audiovisuals called Artisan Roots of Catalonia. Okay, this is produced by Artesanía Catalunya and the Consortium of Craft, Fashion and Trade of the Government of Catalonia, where I am speaking on behalf of. And as you said, we are the institution that informs and promotes the authenticity of Catalan crafts activity. And this organization works to promote products, the increasing output, the strengthening the modern image of crafts, and protecting the interests of the crafts persons in Catalonia and abroad if we can't. So let's get in some context how we arrived to decide that we need to produce this series of audiovisuals about these artisan roots. As you just said, we are a very touristic land. As we learned in recent webinars with the World Craft Council Europe, the countries that are more touristic, we have suffered more the pandemic because it has affected a lot to mobility, so it has affected to tourism. So our craft sector was more oriented to tourists than the craft sector in other countries. So that's bad for our economy. So we need to reinvent and to focus also in the local tourism, okay, in the local public. So as I told you, I would like to put some context. We already had a long time ago with another project called Singular Traits, Offices Singulars. We had identified some traits with strong roots in Catalonia. Okay, let me share with you just the, oops, do you see the map?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes, okay. As you see, this is the map of the singular traits of Catalonia. This is a map of Catalonia, and we have identified all these traits that had deep roots in particular specific territories of our land. We have from laces in a range, or pottery in Breda, or soap in Mongai, or wool in the Vall d'Asua, woodwork in the Pallars, or I don't know, a basketry in Terres de l'Ebre. So as you see, we have well, very different traditions in different parts of the territory. It depended of many times of the history of the place, the materials they had close there, and well, and the local culture. So as I told you, Catalonia has a wide variety of soils and climates, and many cultural contributions made over centuries. The tradition of its artisans and the innovative spirit of its designers. Because in this project, what we made was to identify these specific traits and send a team of young designers to work in the territory to get some contemporary new products to be able to fix that population in the territory and to help the workshops to stay in the territory, not to come to the big cities. Okay, so this was like the first project we made many years ago about identifying all these traits we had in the specific places of our territory, of our land. Another project we have is the Punt Interès Artesanal. So it's like a craft interest point that it's like an accreditation that the local authorities, the municipalities, the city halls can ask, can solicit, and they need to have in the same municipality or area concentration of a minimum of 5 artisan workshops, or have also a long artisan tradition or historical recognition about trade, okay, and some cultural equipments, or well, anything linked to crafts, but it needs to be a minimum concentration of it. Then they get this special accreditation that they can show in the entrance of the village, or you know, or in the commerces or whatever. So we have recognized all these places also. The recognizing points of crafts interest so far are in Barcelona, the district of Gracia, in Barcelona also the district of Ciutat Vella, also the Spanish village of Montjuic in the city of Barcelona, and then out of the city we have Terrassa, another city, the municipality of Alpens, La Galera, it's a small village from the south, and a specific street in the city of Vic. So this is like, we are beginning to identify all these places and to start using all these accreditations. That's why this project I will explain to you about the audiovisuals of artisan roots is oriented also to get synergies with all these previous projects that I just told you. Catalonia is a very attractive land with so much to offer to the local and international tourism, and crafts are so linked to our landscape, patrimony, and culture that we decided to undertake a synergy between tourism and crafts, as I told you. Let me show a route design to get to know Catalonia by motorized vehicle. This trip lets you discover the best cultural and natural experiences all around Catalonia. This is the grand tour of Catalonia. Let me show you a video. Do you see it?
Not yet.
No? Okay. Let me something about sharing the, I'm not sharing the right. You are seeing still the map?
Yes.
Okay.
David, you might need to switch screens.
Yeah, it's what I'm doing. Okay. I think you now will see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can you put it in whole?
Yeah.
Pantalla completa. Thanks.
Do you hear it?
No. I didn't hear it.
You should hear it. Mm-hmm.
When you share, there's a kind of option to.
Yeah, I know, but it didn't ask me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought it would ask me, but it didn't ask me.
Yeah.
How should I do it? Maybe it's because I'm gonna take the. Just a second, please. Okay, now it will be okay, I think. So as you see, our colleagues from tourism, they are already working some grand routes, internal routes inside Catalonia to invite people to visit all the land. That's why we say to start talking to them and to think about, you know, adding some new value about crafts in these grand routes they were working. Let me share with you also the website that you can visit. I choose the English version. Oops, sorry, it's not this. Okay. Let me. Many things. Okay. Okay. Are you seeing the website?
Yes.
Okay. As you see, this is the website of the Grand Tour of Catalonia. It explains what we saw in the video. Okay, so the visitor, here you have an explanation. It's in many languages. You see the routes, you can select on them and get a description. And you have different itineraries. You can look at them. You can study them. You can ask for more info, and even you can download, see the images or download a route to take with you in the car. So this kind of route that it's already, as I said, worked by our colleagues from the tourism department, we want to get some audiovisual content to get in synergy with this. Also, here you have another website with all the different routes by thematics, different themes, like gastronomy, modernism, art, any kind. So here we need one that says crafts, okay, and to the people who wants to visit the craft spaces in Catalonia. Also, so knowing all these resources from all our colleagues in the tourism department, we decided to create a new resource on crafts that can generate a clear synergy between tourism and craft experience. An audiovisual material of that assets and artisan resources that are distributed in the territory, classified in 8 geographic units that we detected. The High Pyrenees and Aran, so the mountains, the lines of Lleida, the lines of Tarragona, the lines of Terres de l'Ebre, Central Catalonia, the lines of Barcelona, and the lines of Girona and Barcelona city itself. In these 8 geographical units, there are about 30 locations that have many crafts assets and resources, like workshops, museums, shops, centers, all kinds of resources. So we localized and defined all these resources in order to include them in the videos we are producing. The aim is to shoot 8 audiovisuals of artisan roots of Catalonia, which will include the assets to crafts, singular traits that I told you before, and crafts point of interest that I told you before also, distributed throughout Catalonia. The format of these audiovisuals routes must have a documentary character, which serves us to use them as elements of territorial divulgation, tourist artisan promotion, and highlighting of the attributes mentioned above, with a well-defined cultural factor. They must be recordings that attract the interest of the citizens and make them want to know these assets and artisan resources of the country. These are not audiovisuals aimed at the craft sector, nor are elements to promote certain artisans or entities, although they will also be consumer or prescribers. But what is at stake is to promote the interest of our craft in general in society at a local and international range. We think that every video should have a maximum duration of 20 minutes in order to keep the viewer attention, and we are working on that. Let me show a trailer we produced of these artisan roots, and we presented in our Crafts Week that took place in October, and get ready to experience Catalonia and its crafts. Let me show you the video. It didn't ask me again if I want to share the sound, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. Do you hear the sound? Yes? So as you can see, it's the trailer invites you to visit Catalonia in its craft patrimony. It's what we are doing with these 8 audiovisuals we are producing during next year. We think that with this pandemic situation, all the communication it's necessary. So because people it's very worried for other things, or they are you know, more at home, so it's very necessary to be present in their lives. That's why during the pandemic we also made communication campaign and in social media and but also on the Catalan TV, the national Catalan TV. It was the first time we could produce an advertisement for the TV, and it was well, it gave a great visibility to the sector. We invite people to consume crafts, local crafts in these uncertain times, also to help the local economy. So that's why we have all these projects that we had already identified, all the talent in the territory. Now we are trying to get this synergy with tourism, and as you say, there are many resources. I'm sure that in your countries you have these resources also. You just have to look at them, try to get a meeting with this the people who is, you know, manage all these resources, and maybe offer them a content that they can add to their existing resources. And so it's a great synergy, I think, for us. And so I think this is all I wanted to share with you. I hope you like the project, and I hope you see the 8 the 8 videos we will be making. It will dip in every trade you saw in the trailer that we had identified. So it will be very, very interesting, and well, we'll learn a lot of our own crafts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for your presentation. As you know, we organized this virtual meeting, and we would have sorry, we would have loved to have you all here. And I hope that with these two presentations, with the videos, that you had an impression what we have here in Spain and Catalonia. And I really hope that as soon as we can travel, that you are the first ones coming here and checking all these places we have, all the craftspeople, all the patrimony we have here in Spain and Catalonia, and that and you give us also your feedback on that. So I think now we are going to have like a Q&A session. I don't know if Hilda is going to moderate or someone else.
Yeah. I have not heard of Carlotta, so I'm taking the initiative on me. I think I have 2 main questions, both for Manolo, if I'm right. I think that somebody asked 3 questions in one. How have you selected the ateliers to be included in this app? What's the fee? Is there a fee? And who and how can you update the app?
Laura,
yeah,
por el inglés,
don't worry.
Tú.
Yes, I will answer the questions because Manolo is not, his English is not so fluent. Mine neither.
The curiosity was mine.
Okay, yes, Carlotta. Everyone can just send their application to be in the app. We have like a form that you have to fill in with all the data. Then we check it. We are 2 here, 2 institutions here. It's the project was created by Arte, and then Fundesarte stepped in this year. So we are both coordinating and checking the application forms we receive. We check if all the data are okay, and if it's really a crafts-related workshop, because we don't want to have other things that are not related to crafts. And then we just check the information and we upload it to the app. And there is no fee, so it's free for everyone, for the users and for the ateliers. And the last question was, sorry.
I have to switch back.
Who is in charge of managing both the contents and keep the app update? Because sometimes there is the problem that we produce a lot of digital instruments or promotional instruments, but then sometimes participants have no time or have no soft skills to update their contents, and so the app become old.
So there are 2 things. It's Oficiarte and Fundesarte who keep the data, and it's like this is a live app, so things are happening every day. So if there is an atelier that just changes the times, the opening times from summer to winter, they just inform us and we change it in the app. And we have also a service contracted to check that the app is in the last technical standards, because you know that every month you have to update your app because there is some changes that are done to better the app. So this service we have also. So we currently are working on it. So for now, the funding is secure to do all the things that the app keeps, because this was very important for us to have for Oficiarte and us. I mean, I speak for both. I'm only the voice for Manolo also. Please, Manolo, if I say something that's not right, just pop in. No, what was I saying is that it is very important what you say, Carlota, that we have an app that is up to date. It is no of use if you have something that it's 2 years old. So that is very important for us to keep it updated and to check everything. So even us, when we are moving around, I check the apps to see if the information is there and if it's still working. So we have many people who are checking and informing us also. So that's a way to keep it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then I think there was only one extra question. If I have understood well, it was in Spanish. I think somebody asked about the number of tourists that have used it already. Do you have any idea about that? Any statistics?
No, unfortunately, we have no statistics yet on the number of people who are using the app. We cannot differentiate between tourists and locals because people are already here. So we don't know what kind of people are using it. We don't know their age, if they are male or female. These are data that we are not collecting. We know the number of downloads, but I don't know. I don't know now the exact number. I don't know if Manolo knows the exact number of downloads, but we had like, when we started the campaign this summer, we had like 500 downloads in 1 month. So it was quite good. Then it stopped because, yeah, with the lockdown, it stopped again.
Okay, thank you. I find it very, very motivating to see how many initiatives are going on in Spain. It's yeah, it's really impressive. I think we have dealt with the questions that I found. Maybe I have not seen all of them. Carlota, are you checking as well?
Yes, Hilde, I'm checking, but I think that on the chat we have answered to the questions. But if someone would like to insert other questions or just remarks or also potential similar initiatives that are going on in the countries, in other countries, please feel free to write in the chat box.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, I think the interesting point here was, I mean, in Spain, we have the impression that people don't value crafts. And now our strategy is to bring crafts together to other sectors that are working very well, like gastronomy and tourism and fashion. So we are doing little projects that bring together many sectors. So as the presentation of David, as we saw it, they linked crafts to tourism. So to engage people to travel around their own country and discover all the fantastic things we have around, because most of the time we travel abroad, but we don't know our neighborhood or the things we have nearby. I don't know if the same happens to other countries. Maybe you can contribute to that.
And while you were explaining about the tourism sector, our partner Tarja from Finland asked, how do you cooperate with tourism?
Maybe David can answer that question.
Yes, well, our experience with tourism, as I said, we are very touristic land. It's a big part of our economy. So it's normal that the craft sector will lend to that kind of economy also. So we have a lot of craft people working for tourism. And we also have a lot of patrimony, cultural heritage, and all the Catalan modernism and all this wonderful architecture that people from all around the planet comes to visit. So there's a lot of reproductions, a lot of restoration to do, and well, so it's a huge thing here. So the synergy is very clear. And when we opened, like I think 15 years ago now, the Craft Center in the Gothic Quarter, it's like the most touristic part of the city of Barcelona. We opened our center there 15 years ago. We know that we had to do something about it because also all these old quarters of the big cities are losing their identity, because all the big brands and all the change of international brands are getting like the best places in these neighborhoods to sell their products, and they are not artisan products. They are products, many times they are made in another continent, and they don't have any singularity or any identity about the place that the tourist is visiting. In this case, in our case, Catalonia or Barcelona, no? So that's why we decide to dedicate a part of our center to do a shop of certified crafts. And we are the only shop in, I would say, in Catalonia that 100% of the products that is in the shop, it's certified crafts. What certified crafts is something that we also do as you know, as government of Catalonia. We have like a label of quality for the products. I'm sure you have that in all your countries, that you certify officially that product it's artisan and it's made there. It's made in Catalonia in this case. So we have this big shop with all these products that in one shop you find a big range of all the crafts in Catalonia, and we are in the best touristic location in the city. Also, this is associated to of course to a brand. It's not only the shop. The shop it's called Emprendas de Catalunya. It's like prints from Catalonia, and this brand it's located also in another touristic points like tourist office or hotel halls, and so the tourists can find these certified crafts in many places. So this is like a commercial task that we are doing with our crafts and related to tourism. But as I said in my presentation, in the pandemic, we realized that we need to be present. And we need not only to bring the product to the people, but also that bring the people to the product.
Exactly.
And that it's important to make it easy for them. So all these resources are there. So we need to produce new content to add to these resources for that the tourists are already using. And for instance, what Manolo presented, the app of Atelier and Fundesarte, I think it's a wonderful tool also. So I mean, for sure, we need to be there. We need to be everywhere, because then you catch the tourists in the place, and they say, okay, I'm here, and here I have all this. So it's be sure that he doesn't go without visiting the craft places, the craft assets in the territory he's visiting.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was sufficient. I hope so. If not, maybe Tarja can react. I'm checking the questions because I saw another question passing, but then maybe Manolo already answered.
Yes, someone was asking how we are advertising the app and the routes in the case of Catalonia. It's basically, we ask all the users of the app, all the people who are registered, that they also make promotion of it in their website and elsewhere, as Manolo said. And specifically this year, we did a campaign on social media and aimed at people that like to travel. So this is also very important, because you need to get to the people, and that's how we tried. Of course, it costs money, and most of the time we don't have budget to do that, but it's necessary to do that also because all the media, the normal media, they usually don't advertise these kind of things just like this. So you have to invest some money sometimes.
It was really interesting, really interesting. Okay, I don't know whether there are any further questions.
There are, Hilde, there was another question. I don't know if I've been already answered to it about cost. So how much these instruments such as app, website, videos have an impact on the cost. So which are the costs?
In our case, the cost for the artisans is nothing. I mean, we are assuming this with our budget as a public institution. We are making a public concourse for, you know, for different productions company to be selected, and that's it. And so
I think I don't know, maybe Nicola can specify, but I think the questions was about the cost of realization of the product. So how much does the app or the video cost to you?
I don't have that information right now, but I can look for it, I think.
In the case of the, sorry.
No. I mean, I don't have the amount here, but I can look for it. But while I look for it, you can do something else if you want.
Now, in the case of the app, Manolo already answered. It was when they developed it, it was like 12,000 euros. The developing of the app, it was done in 2012. And then, as you mentioned before, Carlota, projects need to be maintained, and as it is a cost, a project related to a big cost, it wasn't maintained during all these years. And this year we did another investment of 10,000 euros to update the app and to do the promotion. So in total, it was like 22,000 euros. More or less.
Yeah, in our case, I have already the amount. My boss just texted me with it. It's gonna be around 50,000 euros. The production of the 8 audiovisuals.
Yeah, of course it has a price of its own now, but it's very useful, I think.
And okay, this is a price for the production, but you have to have some money waiting to be spent also to promote the videos once they are produced. Because if you spend this money and nobody sees them, it's wasting money. So this is the cost of the videos, but we need to think about the cost of the promotion of these videos. That it's also, well, a cost. I don't have the, we are not there, so I don't ask me for the amount of money we are going to use with that. Okay, but we need to think about it in advance.
Thank you very much.
This might be an idea to do an international project on the promotion of crafts and tourism.
Yeah, and in any case, I think, Laura, tourism will undergo a huge change. I spoke about it in another project with a person. So it's going to redirect in another direction, because tourism, as we have known it until today, will no longer exist for the near future. Something new will come up, and it is very likely that authenticity at such things, crafts and everything, become more important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there we have a big opportunity, because, as you say, tourism is going to change, and people will want to live experiences and get to know particular things that are different, and precisely these tools will bring them to this kind of quality content and culture.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so.
Okay, let's look at the chat box. don't know, Carlotta, have you seen any other questions?
No.
Mm-hmm. Then maybe somebody else in the public who has another question that he or she would like to ask.
Okay.
I see no further reaction for the moment.
Okay, so maybe it's time to finish this today's seminar. Who wants to do the closing?
I will do it. So, okay, I think there were 2 days really, really rich in information. And also we need the time to think about them in order to recap, in order to put order in our mind and let our ideas flowing, because I think we have been stimulating so much from these different experiences, good practices, suggestions, and it will be really, really very important to think about it and to make a sort of wrap up within the project in order then to contact again our stakeholders, our participants, speakers, and maybe deepen even more the experiences they have presented, because to present what we do habitually to be presented online in this virtual way is not easy, and something can get lost. So I think it's very important to keep our communication very strict and to involve stakeholders and who participated, but even others, participants, to be an active part of our project, because we need all the efforts, we need the experiences, we need the good practices, and we need to rethink, as Hilde said, also to the way to promote handicraft, the way to match it with tourism, how to support this sector in this particular period, because our project has born before. So all the study visits, peer review, international meetings, also matchmaking session between artisans, designers, experts have to be rethinked completely. And so maybe also different inspirations from outside our partnership are really, really very welcome. So thank you very much to all of you for the participation. Thank you to Craftspeople partners, to speakers, and all participants. Keep in touch with our project. You will find all the recording. You will have the possibility to review the recording sessions, and you will have the possibility to revise our good practices in the website. So please keep in touch and feel free to contact us anyway for develop a new collaboration and to go together towards a fruitful project. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.